So to start off today's show, I wanted to talk about Nintendo's most recent release in the form of Rhythm Heaven or Rhythm Paradise Groove. Rhythm Paradise Groove. I don't think it's called Beat the Beat
No,
in
I
this
don't think.
region.
No, it's not called Beat the Beat. That's the Korean region, I think.
Why is that the Korean name? Why did they bring the Korean name over for the Wii U game? Anyways,
I think it's a great addition. I think you would agree too, right? With its faults, but a great addition.
it's definitely an enjoyable game. But it we saw the very first trailer of Rhythm Heaven. It was in like March of 2025. That was when the game was revealed, and then it was re-revealed or it was shown off again earlier this year, and it had a complete like rehaul, like a visual overhaul in how it looked, similar to the original Rhythm Heaven art style. And it even when playing the game, you can tell that there was different stages to development where originally it was going to be a very different game and it sort of course corrected, and you can very much tell because like near the very end of Rhythm Heaven Groove, it's like the last few final mini games, they just like a massive bump in quality, just so much better compared to like the early game ones. You can clearly tell that more there was more of
Experience
a
almost, right?
focus. Yeah, there was more focus, and they sort of got their bearings. But there's a lot of duds sort of in that early to mid game with some of the mini
And
games.
I think especially above all, the big problem is the remixes, right? I think I think aside from Remix 10 and the one where they all become solid colors, there isn't really a remix that I particularly enjoy. The music and the fact most of them have no theming, and the ones that do aren't anything that special, really. They're very pretty and whatnot, but I don't know. I was sort of disappointed with the remixes, and yeah, and the music in general for the game is not as solid as DS and Wii. I mean, DS is my favorite one, especially because the music is such quality, right? And it's so different from the other ones. But this one, yeah, felt had that problem a bit. I don't know if you would agree.
I mean, it still has good music. It's still a Rhythm Heaven game, and I don't think the music takes a noticeable hit, especially since the music is still made by the same guy. I forget his name. So when it comes to the music side, I don't feel like there's a noticeable drop off. It's just sort of in the art style and gameplay wise, it's pretty fine. I would say gameplay wise, it is the best Rhythm Heaven game so far.
See, he
It's just that
this is where I start to disagree with you. I don't think this one is the best. I mean, I think it has a lot to offer. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a fantastic game, but I don't think it reaches the levels of Rhythm Heaven DS, which I love so dearly. I think DS tends to be a bit harder than this one. In a better way than what this one offers, because a lot of what this game offers, I felt, is longevity and not really difficulty. A lot of the games are just really long, which makes for a for rhythmically hard games not
I mean, there's
necessarily.
always been long Rhythm Heaven mini games out in prior games.
Yeah, but it would be like there would be some that are challenged. I mean, the frog from Soda Hop 2, he's originally from one of the longest mini games in DS, which is the like average size of a mini game in Groove.
But don't
Which
but don't people love that the frog mini game?
some people like, yeah, but all I'm saying is it's good to have one or two. My problem is I feel like with Groove, every mini game's a bit too long. It's a super endurance game.
Yeah, there's a couple like the one where you're cleaning up on like a walkway and you're like go 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 and then you spin. That one, it's just like a very very long game of endurance, and there's a couple more that are like that. So I do see what you mean.
Yeah, but
Like
first,
especially
yeah,
Soda Hop 2. Soda Hop 2 is also one of endurance, and it's also one of the hardest ones in my
I'm I
opinion.
I I would disagree with that. I don't think it's that hard. I mean, maybe because I played DS and the hardest mini game in DS is a harder version of that, so maybe I guess I'm sort of used to that. But I think Soda Hop's a pretty good, size. I think stuff like the second car one where you're jumping with Mr. and Blue and Miss Pink, right? I think that one's overly long. The second clapping one It is so long. All of Synchro Wings, it is long. Both of them are really long and boring. Uh,
Oh, Synchronwings, they ran out of budget. They ran out of budget with that one. That was like the last mini game, and it's just it's stuffing to it.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that's true. But some of them, but for example, the one you just mentioned with the ones where you're sweeping, right, the top of the building, I don't actually
Hmm.
find those ones as annoying because you have like two rhythms that you have to do, and it's sort of a normal rhythm to it, and like the first time's a bit annoying maybe, but then it gets easier, and also the song is actually good, and I think that's really where the cookie crumbles, I guess, is on if the song is good or not. That will really, and if you like the song, obviously, that will really define how much you enjoy the minigame.
Someone in the audience is saying that Soda Hop 2's music does not fit the game. I think it's the best. Personally, it's my favorite song of all the mini games. Um, I do sort of feel like the only like Rhythm Heaven game I played like the beginning of the DS one, but I've only really played the Wii one. And I think back to my time of the Wii game, I just remember so many more, like not just high quality ones, but just ones that are memorable, like the two dogs in the airplanes with the tennis rackets, the You Go Big Guy, that one. It's just so many in that game that feel so iconic. And then in this one, it just doesn't feel like there's as many to come to mind. It just feels like there's a lot of forgettable or sort of just like all right, sort of they just blend in. They don't have much to them. They can be fun gameplay wise. They can have good songs, but it doesn't feel like they sort of have much traction in the series. And I think in the long term, it's going to be not as fondly not that it's going to be disliked, but I don't think it's going to have the same staying power as the DS or Wii games.
Well, I somehow have to disagree with that. I mean, obviously those other ones have staying power because Rhythm Heaven is a series with few games, far and few in between, and we really have four main games if we think about it, if we don't count Mega Mix. And I think these games will grow to be just as iconic as the DS ones and as the Wii ones. And I think we'll remember like the dog one, all the frog ones here. Uh, there's just some really good mini games. The ones where they're sweeping, the car ones, I think are quite fun. I just think the characters are quite
With the
fun.
ones where the cars are like the cars are driving, like left.
Yeah,
Are you talking about?
yeah. I think
That's like one of the most forgettable ones.
I think it's funny. It's like some cars that are filming a music video. I think it's a fun concept. I just think the germs. I think we're gonna remember it, especially because of that
Yeah.
amazing
Oh
penis
no,
music, right?
that felt like I said before, like the late game ones, like Germ Aerobics, the clapping one, the Sentry one, and the jump rope one. These are like the best in the whole game. I do think it might have some staying power because obviously it's releasing on the Nintendo Switch One, which is the best-selling console of Nintendo, not of all time yet. We'll get there, but it's Nintendo's best performing console. Rhythm Heaven, I think, is more popular than ever, especially in
Yeah.
Japan. It sold like crazy in
Yeah,
Japan
with
when
the
it
news
launched.
today, just this week, I think it sold something like almost 200,000. Not even digital, physical copies, and it sold 500,000 in 2 weeks just in Japan alone. And I think that is such a jump for Rhythm Heaven. And I mean, before the show, I was talking to you, right, about this. We often talk about this show, how the Switch 2 is clearly one of the outliers of Nintendo because it doesn't have a Mario game or a big Zelda game, right? And I think Nintendo is doing this on purpose to grow their other franchises like, Rhythm Heaven, like Star Fox, which is also having such success, even though I haven't played it yet because it's really quite expensive, and I wanted to play Rhythm Heaven instead. And other series that they're trying to home grow. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Oh no, definitely. I mean, Rhythm Heaven has always been a very, very popular. It's a very Japanese game and it has a lot of Japanese music. Like this release, I believe, it has like one big like pop singer in Japan. I think goes by the name of Ado, and it's this massive uh, singer in the country, and she has a song in the game.
And
So
I,
Rhythm Heaven has massive pull, massive pull in the country.
yeah, and I believe the biggest Japanese musician and artist right now did a full like playthrough on YouTube of it. So it's just gonna, I think it's just gonna be a really, really big game, bigger than the other two. And even on the West, I think it's being received so well. And another reason I think it's being received so well is the amount of content on this game is impressive. I know you didn't really interact with it, but the extras on this game are the best extras Rhythm Heaven has ever had, and it feels like there is almost infinite game. You have a whole RPG built around rhythm, which plays really fun. It's really quite more challenging than you think it is, but it's really quite fun to play too. You have these arcade-style high score games, which are really fun, involving some characters, some extra characters, entirely new rhythm games that they had no incentive to make. You have a whole drumming class. I don't know if you've messed around with that, with the drumming class, which literally just teaches you how to play drums and to do the rhythms on the drums with the controller, which is really fun to do. I've been stuck on one of the levels now because it does get really hard. And I mean, it just adds so much things. That's the toy box, which just has a bunch of toys, rhythm toys you can play with. You have two extra mini games that are the two credits of the games, right? And you have the cafe and the bar, which I don't know if you've done this, but if you go in the cafe after completing the game, you get characters from the game singing the song inside the
I mean,
song from the
I'd be
cafe.
thinking I tried to go in there after being in the game. It wouldn't let me. I think I might have to do like multiplayer or like some other side games to get in there and then allow me, I guess.
I
But
guess that makes sense. But and yeah, multiplayer, which I haven't even touched, and I opened the menu and there's like 20 more mini games I haven't even touched. There's so much to this game, and it has such a staying power because it has a lot of content, and just when you think there isn't any more content, there's even more content, right? And this content is short 2-minute mini games that you can just pick up and play, and I think that's going to be its biggest strength. This is going to be one of those games that is just like, oh, I feel like playing, and you play every month because it's like, oh yeah, I can do this.
I think it's a bit of a shame that because I initially had the impression that the multiplayer mini games are online, but they're not. They're only local. But I guess it makes sense because once you go online, you introduce an element of delay, which is another big issue with the game. Um, I run my Switch games through capture card, and I use Bluetooth headphones, which obviously I can connect them wired to my PC, and that sort of helps eliminate the delay. But even so, there's still enough of a delay where it just isn't very optimal for me, so I still primarily play in handheld, it makes sense. Rhythm Heaven has mostly been a handheld series for the most of the time, and there's like a calibration setting in the game that lets you calibrate it to sort of fix the delay. It makes it worse because it starts predicting when you're gonna press the buttons. So even when you fail an input, it starts saying like you'll hear the sound effect for a correct input, or you'll hear the sound effect for a wrong input when you've done the opposite, when you've got it
Sorry.
correct.
Yeah, no, we'll keep going. Sorry, there's a bit of an error on my part. Keep going. Sorry.
It, it it is made, and there's no way to reset it. There's no way to reset the calibration. The only way to reset it is if you delete your save file, or you go back into the calibration and sort of guess around and force a really weird way of getting that calibration to go back to how it was initially. And it's such a hassle. I'm just sticking with handheld. But on the topic again of the content in Rhythm Heaven, I do have a slight concern because while I do appreciate how much content there is, I do feel like with how they've sort of nailed down the quality of the minigames near the end of the game, if they went and made another Rhythm Heaven game shortly after this, um, with that new focus already in mind and just go all in with the lessons they learnt from the development of Groove, I think it'll be the best Rhythm Heaven game they've ever made. But I do sort of feel like with how much content there is, it's sort of being poised as like the forever Rhythm Heaven. Like this is the game that you're gonna play for
Like
ages and ages.
like a
Like they're not gonna make another one.
like a sort of how would you put this? Like a sort of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Yeah, yeah. Like I don't think there's gonna be DLC obviously for Rhythm Heaven. I feel like that's not something really they would do for this kind of game. But there's just so much content. It feels like I obviously with most of Nintendo's franchises, we get to a point where like, dude, there's gonna be no more Star Fox games. There's gonna be no more Pikmin games. There's gonna be no more F-Zero games. Actually, that last one might be true. But
Yeah.
but these franchises, they always find a way to claw themselves back and revive themselves and reinvent themselves. So I don't think this is gonna be the last we see from Heaven. Hopefully.
No, I don't think. I think that's an impossibility. I mean, first of all, this is like being like a successful video game. So, I mean, where there's successful video games, there's money to be made. Where there's money to be made, there's sequels, right? I mean, that's just the law of life. If it makes money, there's going to be more of it. And second of all, I mean, it's a tireless idea, right? It's an idea that can go anywhere and everywhere. You can do anything with the Rhythm Heaven. You can make so much with it, and I think we're going to see one in a long, long time. Yeah. Probably only when we see a Switch 3 or a next Nintendo console. But I do think we're going to see one.
I'm going to now open the call-ins. So if you have any thoughts on Rhythm Heaven or you want to jump in on any of our next topics that we're going to be talking about, feel free to head on in the waiting room in our Discord. You can find that in our little bio on the stream. But the next game I would like to talk about, it's not a recent game, but it's a game that I've been playing after I've sort of defamed the company about, I think, three episodes ago.
Yeah, it was
Red Dead Redemption 2. I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2. I've never fully played a Rockstar game before. I think the closest was LA Noire, but that was a sort of different team. That's not in Rockstar. It was like published by Rockstar. And I do think there is some truth to my thoughts that Grand Theft Auto is an industry plant series because I very much prefer the setting of Red Dead Redemption and its world. It is just infinitely more interesting and immersive than what Grand Theft Auto has to offer, in my opinion.
And not just that. I mean, I'm sure you're going to be talking about this, but a lot of the enjoyment of this game really is feeling like you're a cowboy in the late 19th century, almost 20th century, and they really pull that off really well in this game. It is really the only cowboy game that exists.
But it's also to its detriment because there are so many little things in Red Dead Redemption 2 that they make you do manually. Like you have to clean your weapon and you have to make sure you eat. And it's like, okay, sure, I can do these things. I don't really mind. But then you sort of get to the more tedious things of, oh, if you want to go loot a place or loot enemies, you have to manually go and do that. And it's like a 20-second long animation to loot a single enemy. And everything takes so long to do a single thing. And then the main mission structure and navigation in the world just isn't very fun. It's not very fun to... I'm not going to say to explore. It is not very fun to navigate, and it is not very fun to get from A to B, because most of the game, I think, in my opinion, 75% of this game's gameplay is just holding A on a road on a horse, and there's just not much. It's not much else to it. Like you can pop on the cinematic camera, hold A, and then just let go of the button, and it's just playing the game for you. And it's like 10 minutes of just straight riding on a horse, and there's nothing going on.
And I'm
Sometimes some missions will have like dialogue going on, but other than that, there's just nothing.
And I mean that was the big complaint when it released, was that a lot of the game was holding A, and it really is or X if you're on the PlayStation, which I was when I played. And I think that really is the big issue. Sometimes it's really tedious. Sometimes it's like the sunset in the game and it's like prettier. Other times you're going through like an uglier part or not as interesting part of the world, and it's just sort of there. And I think that's its big holdback is how big they decided to go with it. Because I've been telling you while you play this, I generally think Red Dead Redemption 1 is the better video game. It has more varied missions. The story is sort of more fun. Well, not no. The story, yeah, fun is the word I'm looking for. And I'm not saying it's better. A lot of people would disagree with me, but the story is more fun. The setting is, I would say, very interesting, and the characters are very interesting, and the gameplay in general feels a bit more dense, and like the world's a bit more. Well, it makes a bit more sense. It's emptier, I suppose, in a way, but also in a way that makes sense because you're in an actual like desert, right? So it would be empty, and it's not really to its detriment in Red Dead One.
I've heard very good things about Red Dead Redemption 1. And I think if I'm going to play another Rockstar game, it's probably going to be that or GTA 4. So I'm probably going to get around to it someday, and I'm going to. I guess. Well, it's Red Dead Redemption 2 is a prequel. It's not a sequel to the first game, which is I think was a very, very good decision for Red Dead Redemption 2 because the story of Red Dead 2 is the absolute best part of that game. It is, I think, without the story, it genuinely would be like a 6 out of 10 game. It would fall flat. It is the one thing that is carrying this game, and it is carrying it so damn well, so hard.
No, yeah,
Like
definitely.
you,
I mean, like I remember when the the Game Awards happened. I had just played this game, and I had just played God of War 2018, and I was so absolutely distraught that this game lost because this game, and I was telling you this the other day. I think this game, we can make a line in video gaming history before and after this game because this is one of the games that really brought storytelling and the story that games play to the forefront, not of the gaming but of the public, and really told the public this is what games can say and feel and make you feel, and sometimes to its detriment and to the detriment of gaming, in my opinion. But at the time, I remember thinking it was fantastic.
I think definitely between Red Dead 2 and God of War 2018, I think this is definitely the better game. Despite how much flack I give Rockstar, I can give credit where credit is due. This is a much better game than God of War 2018. Personally, I wouldn't pick either game for Game of the Year that year, but out of the two, I think this is definitely the better game. And it was probably, I think it's probably the best game that was nominated that year out of the nominees. But we'll not delve back into that. I want to start picking the bones of this game because I've been too nice. I need to be really mean to Rockstar because these people, they deserve it. They deserve it because Jesus Christ, the UI in this game is abhorrent. It is, the gunplay, the UI, the way that the saddle system works, like it automatically unequips your weapons just randomly. Like you'll get off your horse and you'll be in the middle of a mission, like walking around, and then you'll look in your inventory. It's like, oh, why is my rifle gone? Where the hell did it go? Oh, it's in my saddle now. Just so many things, so many. It's not even lit. These are big things where it feels like Red Dead 2 is a little bit behind in the industry, and I think a lot of people can agree that how Red Dead Redemption 2 functions and how the overall Rockstar formula functions needs some kind of a rehaul. It needs some kind of iteration to evolve because from what I can tell, it has been mostly the same thing for a while with very small incremental upgrades, but these increments are too slow and too little that it's not quite catching up with the rest of the field.
No, definitely. I mean, that was those were complaints that I don't think are necessarily new, but those are complaints that are still true. Just before I continue with my opinion, I just like to remind everyone who is watching that call-ins are open, and you can come in and give your opinion if you feel so inclined. I think Redemption 2 is a special game. It's a good game, and I think most people would agree with that. Nobody's saying this is a bad game, but it has so many simple problems, as you said, the saddle system, and concentrates on such bizarre things. I this is a bit of a pet peeve of mine, and not necessarily actually a big problem that people have, but they go for this ultra realistic game, right? They make the horse's balls shrink when it's cold, when you're in the snow, which is funny. It's not necessarily good. It's funny. But then they get the clothing of the time wrong. And they, instead of making missions that the gameplay reinforces what they want to make you feel, they just make, actual movies with no stakes. I mean, I was watching you play the mission in the third or fourth chapter. I forget which one is the one in Saint Denis now. Where you go,
Chapter 4.
chapter 4, where you go into the swamp with the fisherman, right? I was watching you play that.
Yes.
And you remember my comment. It was, man, they build up the suspense and the atmosphere of it really well, right? They build it up.
But there's no stakes.
There's no stakes because the alligator who attacks you doesn't really ever attack the boat, and it's basically impossible for you to die, or to even suffer from it. So there's just, it's fake stakes. There's just nothing happens, and because the gameplay isn't there to reinforce it. So I was feeling like, oh, this is a great movie, but as a game, I mean, it's kind of bad actually. Like I'm not really feeling much with it.
Yeah, when it comes to the overall mission structure and the missions that are on display, it is pretty weak. Obviously, I don't have a reference point. I can't compare to missions in other games if they are better missions. I've heard that Red Dead Redemption 1 has better missions than Red Dead 2. But when it comes to my impression of what the missions are like in Red Dead 2, it just feels like most of them are either riding on a horse holding A, or it is a big shootout where you're shooting like 90 people, and there's just not much in between. There's not much variety. And when there is variety, I'm like, oh my god, there's actual new gimmick. It's like this shouldn't be a big thing I am asking for. Just a little bit of variety, a little bit more expression of the game mechanics instead of just shooty and hold A on horse.
No, yeah, I think that's a fair assessment and complaint to have of this game. I think that's really its biggest problem too. I would agree with that. I mean, and there's not enough duels, by the way. I think the duel mechanic is so cool, even if it's really easy for the most part. There's a whole side quest where you just do duels, but I feel like there could be more duels because there's so much fun to do, and it's so typical, and it really makes you feel like a cowboy, or like you're in a western, like you're John Wayne, or like you're the other guy I'm forgetting the name of, and instead of there existing, there simply doesn't exist, and it's like, oh, okay, that's a bit sad. 40-hour game, and there's like 3 mandatory duels.
All right, and I also remember now. Well, one of our friends of the show is always one of his biggest criticisms of the game is that there is not enough melee in the game, not enough melee combat in the game, because there's a whole sort of melee system, and it kind of barely shows up in the missions at all.
Yeah, I'd forgotten there was a whole melee system. I thought it was just a simple Rockstar thing. But I guess there is a melee system. I guess. Hey, who would have known?
My other big sticking point with Red Dead 2, and I think this might be a thing with the PC port, I'm not sure. It is so buggy, like visual glitches that are so apparent. Like pathfinding on NPCs break whole missions, sort of soft lock themselves. It is one of the buggiest games I have played, and I've played through the whole of Starfield. God bless my soul. And
I wouldn't wish that upon anyone.
I generally encountered more bugs playing Red Dead 2 in my time with it so far, I'm not done with the game. I still have one chapter left. With my time with Red Dead 2, I've encountered more bugs than I did playing Starfield, and there's truly a monumental achievement from them. But um, I think the other really big buggy thing, I think this might just be a thing that's an issue integrally in the game, not to do with like a port, a specific port. The wanted system in the game is busted. It does not work whatsoever. I will just be hanging about and I will have to either do a crime for a mission or I will kill somebody and it will just automatically like a witness will be there in the middle of nowhere. I will ask the witness, "Hey, stop," and they never ever stop. And sometimes I'm put a bounty on something I never did. I just don't understand why this is how the game functions.
Yeah, not just that. It's just not very fun at all, like to deal with. I mean, in GTA, famously, you have the store system, which is like an iconic part of gaming, like history and iconography, right? In this one, you just have like a price on your head, and you just can go to a post office and pay it. And it's a bit annoying that it's constantly there. And sort of, and I get there's the honor system too, which is the most inconsequential thing on earth. But there's the honor system, and like I don't know, these things sort of are there only to stop you from having fun almost, because they have no actual real consequence other than, oh, this little bar goes down, you have to pay more money for things, and that that
I guess
that applies to the bounty system too, because it's really just, oh, you have fun by killing people, well, here's a fine that you have to pay now, have fun with that.
I guess they wanted to make an open world that was reactive to the player and the way people treat you and the way people approach you changes depending on how you play. But I don't think it's executed in the best manner.
No, yeah, I would agree.
But now, obviously, this game has been out for 8 years. I don't think there needs to be really a spoiler warning for this. But if you somehow have not played Red Dead 2, I'm going to, for the next couple minutes, talk briefly about spoilers. Dutch, the sort of the leader of the Vandalin gang, he turns evil, and I haven't gotten to the point where he's full evil, but it's clear that he's progressing on that path. Sort of at the very beginning of chapter 6, so he is progressing on the path of turning evil. I am an official subscriber to the theory that Dutch turns evil because of the concussion or like brain injury he gets when the tram crashes in at the end of chapter 4. I'm official subscriber to this theory. I think this is how I I understand that there are some setup earlier in the story, but I got the impression that there was going to be a more gradual sort of evolution. There's some of that going on, but it feels like so many plot points and so many events in the game just feel like they pop out of nowhere, and I feel like Dutch is biggest the biggest example of this, where you go from one mission to the other, or immediately he's turned into an absolute psychopath in how he talks to you and how he treats you and other people.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't agree that it's as sudden as you are saying, but there is a sort of a point where you start noticing it more, I think. I think playing the game with hindsight sort of changes it, and I think this is a problem that might be unique to people who are playing it with the knowledge that he's going to become evil, is like, oh, all right, you're sort of looking out for it, and I think that's sort of deteriorating for how the experience actually is, right? But yeah, I think this concussion theory sort of holds a bit of water. I think it's not necessarily, oh, this is what makes him evil. I mean, that would be a really boring story if it was. But I think it's a nice little nod to people who are paying attention.
The other very sort of sudden thing that happens, chapter 3 takes place in sort of rural Louisiana, I believe. Obviously it's not called Louisiana, but I believe it's based on it, or Florida, one of the two.
It's supposed. I mean,
And
Saint Denis is supposed to be a sort of New Orleans. I mean, you have a bunch of French people, and you have the Italian mobster, and it has that French Quarter look to it. It's supposed to be one of those Louisiana cities, yeah. And the swamp around it is supposed to be like a Louisiana swamp.
yeah, and the start of chapter 3, you get introduced to two families, and there's a whole sort of feud going on, and there's a lot of plot threads going around and interwoven with each other. And it is one of the most satisfying sort of slow setups to uh the experience I experienced so far in the game, probably still now later on in the game. I think it's the best executed. Well, not executed because they do all the setup and then sort of you go away from that focus on the families and you start doing stuff with like the O'Driscolls and you start doing stuff with Trelawney and you're just doing sort of random errands. And then all of a sudden, bam, immediately you're back to the story of the two families and instantly you're like in a big battle with them. And I just don't think it was set up. The setup was there, the setup was great, but I don't think it sort of
There was a
it was done.
payoff. You don't think there was a
There was
payoff?
there was a good payoff. Like there was a good transition from those. I think the payoff was good, but it just there wasn't that transition between those two sides of the narrative that was going on in chapter 3. I feel like there could have been more going on there. And chapter 4, great setting, great characters, but it was also quite short. I feel like there could have been more done toying around with the not just the Italian mod boss, but also the children that he has working for him. That's only there for one mission, and I found that very interesting.
Yeah, I have like no idea what you're talking about right now. I don't know who the children are that you're talking about. I'm not gonna.
When John's son gets kidnapped, and you go to Saint Denis, you go and you ask two kids, and they take you to like a gang with like a bunch of children, like adopted children, or not really. I think it's like orphan children, and they point guns at you and they tell you that they work for Angelo Bronte and to go to Angelo Bronte and talk to him in his manor. And that's sort of the last time you ever see them. And I feel like there's a lot of implication going there. Well, not even implication. It's pretty obvious that they're working for Angelo Bronte. I feel like there could have been more going on with that. There's a very interesting plot thread that they could have went on. And more about like the mayor. They barely touch on the mayor. There's nothing really going on with that in the missions. I understand there's probably stuff in the side quests to do with that. I'm not too sure. I did some of the side quests because I played this game on my PS4 like 4 years ago, and I did some of the side quests and I enjoyed the side quests. But then 4 years later, I got the PC version now, and I'm playing the PC version, so I don't have my old save data. I'm like, I'm not doing the side quests I already did again. I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna blast through the story. I'm already playing through other games. I'm playing through Final Fantasy 16. I want to get to these other games that I want to play. And Red Dead 2 is a very, very long game, so I just wanted to alleviate that. But you're gonna accuse me of sort of syndrome, but I don't agree. I don't agree.
I literally wasn't even gonna do it this time because I understand it's a long game. I mean, it's not really your type of game either. I would never really envision you playing this unless you just wanted to see what's going on. Yeah, and that's what you're doing. Don't worry. This time, I don't think so. I don't think you're doing the McDonald's consumption of video games with this one.
No, but you said I did. You said I did the McDonald's consumption for Rhythm Heaven.
And you did because you didn't interact with a single aside thing. You just.
Well, the multiplayer I can't do. I tried to interact with the side content, and it's just like very confusing menus. I was like, I don't know if this even leads to mini games. I'm gonna be honest. And I didn't want to do the RPG. The cafe didn't let me in. So I was like, okay, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to go and farm perfects, which I did. I have like 20 perfects. I'm very proud of them.
All right, we don't need to be on this conversation. Don't you have more to talk about other than this?
Look, I'm very proud in the perfects I got for Rhythm Heaven, all right? But in terms of Red Dead 2, I'm interested to see how the story ends. I hear that has a very good finale. It's a good way of wrapping things up, but it does. There are some issues in the narrative. There are some very big issues in the gameplay.
Hold on, you got perfect on all of them, Knight?
What?
What?
Every
That is
single minigame?
bonkers. That is ridiculous.
How? What do you mean rainbow? You mean the perfect? So you have to get three perfects in a row on a single minigame?
Yeah.
Oh Jesus Christ!
Uh,
I think that's the worst of that game. All right, whatever.
Herculean task. Anyway, keep going.
Uh, well, there's not much else for me to say with Reddit 2 other than I'm enjoying it, but it's definitely not like the greatest game of all time or a complete masterpiece like many people say. But I understand that a lot of people are gun and ball gamers where their frame of reference of quality is does this game mirror the movies I watched on Netflix that were high quality? That's sort of the frame of reference for a lot of people. They don't really have much critical analysis beyond that, but it does have a very good story. So at least it has that. I guess they're not wrong in that aspect. But uh, do you have anything last thoughts on Reddit 2?
No, I think this game lives and dies on if you like the feeling of being a cowboy or not. If you don't care about that, don't play it.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, I'm going to briefly talk about a couple of games that released this year that I've played. One that I finished, one that I have not finished, and I've only briefly started. This is not going to be very long. This is just my brief, sort of snappy thoughts on what I thought of them. The first one is the most recent one, 007 First Light, the James Bond game that released by the Hitman developers, IOI. It is. I'm only about, I believe, like 3 hours into the game. It is a very good game. It is a very very good adaptation of uh, the James Bond sort of idea because I've watched. I mean, I've only watched Casino Royale, Skyfall, and I've watched No Time to Die. Casino Royale, very very good. Skyfall, very very good. No Time to Die,
It's really
big
that's
pile
not
of poo.
yeah that's
Big
not
pile of
very
poo.
good.
It's
Yeah,
not it's not good at all. And I understand there are many, many James Bond movies, especially before the 2000s, that were just complete Mickey Mouse, just nonsense, and uh, got absolutely bastardized by one movie. I forget the name. And James Bond sort of had to change its whole direction. And I feel it's very the game is very true to James Bond's spirit. The writing for James Bond very very good. The writing for all the supporting characters very good. I think the writing and the storytelling and how it's framed, it's a very cinematic game and it's very well told so far. I'm not far into the game. Gameplay wise though, obviously it's by the IOI developers, and they're sort of known for their gameplay because they made the Hitman games. And when it comes to stealth games, when it comes to spy games, those are the cream of the crop. These are some of the best stealth and spy games ever made. And James Bond is sort of a mesh. How it was advertised was it was sort of a mesh of some of the stealth elements from Hitman with more action game elements from Uncharted. So it's sort of a mesh with Hitman and Uncharted. And I'm gonna be honest, from what I've played with James Bond, it feels more like Uncharted than Hitman. It doesn't feel so much like Hitman in many aspects because obviously it's a very linear game. It's a story focused game. It's not going to give you many sandboxes to work with. It's not that kind of game. So I understand why it's like that. But the combat's very good. Um, there's some very interesting stealth elements, like you can go in and you can bluff. It does a lot of interesting things. It's a great adaptation of James Bond, and I think it's a very good game. It's not the greatest thing out there, but it's quite good. I understand you wanted to play James Bond. You didn't get around to it.
yeah, no, I think it looks like a really good game. I mean, I played a bit of Hitman, and I had fun with the like 2 levels that I played. I don't know why I didn't keep playing. I'm also just really bad at video games, so I guess, and these are like hard video games to get perfectly, and I get really annoyed when I don't do what the game wants me to, and I just do the easy way in these levels. But yeah, it looks really good, and I'm a big James Bond fan. I'm a really big James Bond fan. I love James Bond. I've watched a lot of them. And this one, it just looks like a good game, regardless of that. Because if this was a James Bond movie, I wouldn't watch it because it's missing everything about James Bond that I kind of like. But I mean, it's fine. It's probably
It's
really
an
good.
origin story for James Bond, so it's sort of starting from sort of point one. You don't really mostly with James Bond, you sort of just introduced to Bond as an established character, and you sort of go through. He goes through the hurdles of from his very start of his career to becoming an agent. So that's very interesting. What it has going on to this,
Oh.
some unique elements.
Yeah, I mean,
Anyways,
I just wanted to clarify, just because the thing that I really don't enjoy about James Bond, at least this version of James Bond, is because I associate James Bond with with a well dressed guy and with all these fancy cars and this sort of very, even though it's sort of a thing that most filmmakers and game makers want to avoid, but it's sort of the height of machismo, which I think there is a way to do without it being offensive to women and whatnot. Where you can have this super manly guy who dresses really well and who knows his wines and his cognacs and his ports, and he can tell the year just by drinking them, and he has all these gadgets, and he has an Aston Martin and a really nice suit, which this game just sort of doesn't have. And I think that's sort of what bothers me. It doesn't have that iconic aesthetic that James Bond would.
now the other big game that released this year that I played recently was Resident Evil Requiem RE9. Um, I have some experience in the Resident Evil series. I played Resident Evil 1, the remake of Resident Evil 1. I played Resident Evil Code Veronica. I played the Resident Evil 2 remake, and I've played Resident Evil 5. So when I came into playing Resident Evil 9, I had no experience in Resident Evil 4. I had no experience in Resident Evil 7 or 8, the sort of first-person games. And Resident Evil 9 is a mix between the Leon style of gameplay and the first-person style of gameplay. So this was my introduction to both styles of gameplay, and it is what a fantastic introduction I've gotten because both both sides of gameplay are absolutely excellent. We have Grace Ashcroft's side of gameplay, which is the first person. The horror side is excellent. The maps are interconnected. The puzzles are very interesting and well executed. And then we have the Leon side, which is the hype moments and aura, just full on action game with little exploration and puzzle solving as much as Grace Ashcroft, and it strikes a very good balance. Although, when it comes to Resident Evil 9, there are two very clear, distinct halves. The first half of the game is sort of Grace Ashcroft, and the second half of the game is Leon. But you sort of switch between them, so you're not exclusively playing as one or the other in those halves. So, in the first half of the game, I genuinely thought that because I was only playing as Grace Ashcroft most of the time, and we barely got to play as Leon, that Leon's presence in the game was like clickbait for Resident Evil veterans to go and play a first-person Resident Evil game, because I understand there are some people that are sort of resilient to the idea of a first-person Resident Evil game, but it's very much well done, I think. The first-person Grace Ashcroft sections in this game are the absolute best of this game, and the early game dungeon of the nursery is probably the best dungeon of any. Well, not nursery. It's a hospital. It's the best dungeon in any Resident Evil game, and it's not even close. It is a fantastic game, and shockingly, I think it is the best game that I've played that is released this year. So far, we're gonna have to see. We have Dustbloods on the horizon. We've got the Fire Emblem game. We've got Orbitals, which might be a surprise hit. What else is coming? I'm not gonna play Wolverine. I'm not gonna play GTA 6. Rayman Legends remake. Rayman Legends remake is gonna be my game of the year. But right now, Resident Evil 9, pretty good. I'm very good. I'm going to probably go back and play the first-person games and Resident Evil 4 now, and I recommend you guys do the same. It's a very, very good game.
Yeah, well, I didn't. Obviously, I haven't. I played like the first 10 minutes of Resident Evil 2, the original one for the PlayStation or whatever.
Resident. The original one.
Yeah, which I mean, I was having fun. It's just a very like bizarre game to control, and I sort of just didn't continue. And I tried years ago on. Some people will remember this. I tried playing Resident Evil 4, and I just got really bored. I played the GameCube version. I guess it just wasn't for me at the time. And this, but I look at RE9, and I don't know. There's just a feeling about it where you know how Resident Evil 7. You know, I remember when that released. It was such a big shock, or not such a big shock. It sent shockwaves throughout the internet and gaming because you know it was really good, but it was really different from what Resident Evil was. So much so that I feel personally, I haven't played these games, but just from looking at them, they look very. It looks very different. It feels like a different series than the other games. And in here, you look at this game, you look at RE9. And it sort of looks like a mix of the classic series games like RE4 and RE7, and it just looks really good too. I just think it looks very Capcom in the best way possible. The characters all seem very endearing, and the setting, from what I've watched you and Fruit, our friend Fruit, play, was very good.
It leans a lot into that horror, and Resident Evil 1 Remake was my favorite of the series and is one of my favorite games. It is a fantastic video game in atmosphere, in horror, in sort of overall area design and exploration. It is a superb video game. And Resident Evil 9, that early section of Grace Ashcroft, even though it leaned far more into sort of jump scares, which I'm not the biggest fan of, it still had that level of tension there. It had that interconnected design, that exploration, that puzzle solving that still made it feel uniquely Resident Evil, to the point that honestly, the Leon sections felt far less Resident Evil than the Grace sections. So that's very interesting. That's very interesting because I understand RE4 was a very very big change to the series, but I enjoyed it a lot. I'm probably going to enjoy RE4 a lot. Now. The final game I'm going to talk about briefly before we end my part of the show is a game that came out 2 years ago. It is a remake of a game from 2007, I believe.
Oh
And
dear.
I've played the two other entries in this series. One I liked a lot, the other I liked, but not as much. This one I didn't like nowhere near as much at all, and that is Persona 3 Reload. It is my least favorite Persona game out of 4 and 5, and it is not even close. Persona 3 was 2006? Alright, yeah, that makes sense. But Persona 3 Reload, it it still has all of those inherent elements. It has the dungeon exploring, it has the gameplay, the turn-based gameplay, it has the social link and the sort of dating slice of life elements and the time schedule stuff. But what it doesn't have is not nearly as interesting of a story, in my opinion. I do think it has some very good story elements here, but the way that it is paced and presented to you is so slow. Like, you'll go 3-4 months where barely anything happens, and then sort of people will just start popping up in your party and join your team with basically no fanfare. Like, you'll just come home one day and it'll be like, hey, yeah, they're part of the team now, and it doesn't sit right with me, because when it comes to Persona 4 and Persona 5, you get like an entire month's dedicated of just long story sections building up this tension, building up the stakes, and slowly introducing each character one by one. And while the threats of Persona 3, the big threats of Persona 3 is world ending, like the world's gonna end, it doesn't feel like that. The stakes doesn't feel as present. I'm not invested in the characters. I'm not invested in the world as much, because there's very little attention given to that. And I can't believe I'm even saying this. I felt like there wasn't enough filler in Persona
What?
3.
Oh wait.
Like,
What do you mean not enough filler? What does this even
because
mean?
because Persona 4 and Persona 5, infamously, the Persona games have so much filler, like just made to do just complete nonsense activities, like you go to the beach or you like go skiing, and it's just like usually you like roll your eyes, and you're like, ah, whatever. This is sort of like filling in the runtime and sort of forcing us to like the characters. But genuinely playing Persona 3 has truly made me appreciate those stupid filler moments because there are barely any in Persona 3, and because of that, I have almost no attachment to these characters. Even though these characters, the party members, are probably some of the best well-written characters of the Persona series, but they're just not given that much of attention. And when they are, it's for a very short period of time, or basically none at all. It's a very, very disappointing story. And the other big issue is Tartarus. The big dungeon of the game is this long, tall tower with like 250 floors, I believe. And
Oh, that is a lot, dude. Oh man, that's like 250. All of them with enemies. Jesus. You know, in Super Paper Mario, they jokingly do make you do 100 battles, and it is literally they give up halfway through because it's so bad. I can't imagine Persona battles, which are like long too. Oh man, that sucks.
yeah, it functions the same way as Persona 4 and 5, where as the months progress, more of Tartarus slowly unlocks you. You get like a batch of floors every month or so. And in between those, you get small story moments. Usually, they're just kind of boss fights. There's not much to them. And as you slowly climb the floors, it becomes apparent to you there is absolutely nothing that this game does from floor to floor. Like, you will go from floor 1 to floor 250, and it is just the same. There's very little different done from floor to floor, and you're just going through the same thing over and over again. There'll be different enemies, slightly different layouts to the areas depending on which batch you're on. But overall, there's just not much going on, and I it is so bad because the way that the time schedule works is when you get the day where the Tartarus opens, the batch opens for Tartarus, and then you're given 28 days to complete it, right? And you're given 20 to 30 floors at a time. But the thing is, with how the time schedule works, you need to be optimal. You need to make sure there's enough time to do your social links, to go buff your stats, and go do other activities like obtain items and all that other junk. But because of how the time schedule works, it is absolutely optimal to just go to Tartarus and do all those 30 floors in one run, which takes me like 2 or 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours, and it is some of the most boring stuff ever. Like, I don't want to go through so much gameplay all in one go. It fatigues me, and it's like the solution is so simple. The solution is that, oh, just don't do them all in one go. But then I'm losing precious time on my social links. I'm losing precious time on my stats when I could be, I because there used to be a mechanic in the original Persona 3 apparently where you get tired. You get tired if you spend too long in Tartarus and your stats become worse and you're forced to leave.
Oh, that sounds
So
just even more horrible.
I'm pretty sure in that aspect, by removing the tiredness mechanic, it has made Persona 3 Reload in a backwards way worse than the original. But I'm pretty sure that's the only aspect where it's like objectively worse.
All right, we've hit our time though. So, is there anything else, Fricka, that you want to say about this?
Oh, behind you!
What do you mean, Bob?
Oh my God! They killed him! They
The
killed
RRRA
him!
has taken over!
Oh, what? No!
Die, you
What's
scum!
happening?